Thank you, Dr. Coleman. And now we want to welcome Dr. Laura Matz, Chief Science and Technology Officer at Merck. We just want to say Dr. Matz really wanted to be here in person, but she will join us online due to the circumstances. Dr. Matz will discuss how data, technology, and automation are revolutionizing healthcare and paving the way to personalize medicine's future. Please.
Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to see everyone that is there in person, as well as very nice to see everyone virtually online. It's really a pleasure to meet everyone today. And I must say it's an honor to be part of this session. The opportunity to come together to talk about the future of healthcare at this point in time is such a inspiration, I think, for us all, that science can really be sort of an enabling force as we go forward and meet some of the challenges. And you know, for Merck, we have a very long history of presence in Israel. We have 50 years history. We have 400 employees, and so this has been a source of innovation. Truly for our company for many years. So what I want to talk about today is the potential for personalized medicine and how we see the role of bioconvergence being part of that. Now, what I'd like to share, actually the majority of my career has been in semiconductor. Only the past several years have I been working with our healthcare and life science teams very closely to really think about this concept of bioconvergence and the road to, I think, the journey to personalized medicine. But what I can say is that the opportunity is in front of us, and I hope to show you some of the examples that we're working on at Merck and also some of the ideas and concepts we have for the future. But it is you know, in a very exciting time, I think, to be part of healthcare and of the opportunities that we have going forward. And of course, Israel has this, you know, sort of philosophy embedded in the ecosystem. Now, the truth is, there's already the evidence that personalized medicine is coming in, and this just shows some of the FDA approvals that have happened over the past couple of years, where you're starting to see, you know, early therapies being approved that have a more personalized element. However, of course, when we say personalized, this can mean slightly different things, and I'd like to go into a little bit more detail about how we think about this as Merck. When we look at the convergence of data and technology, this is really the opportunity. Again, you know, I'm kind of coming in over the past couple of years, and what I see is the data, bringing data together to really understand how a therapy works, not only with human biology in general, but also a person-specific human biology. That's really the opportunity we have in front of us. Now, you know, I think for all of us, this has the opportunity to deliver better treatment to patients, to benefit society, to really tailor, you know, even for certain ethnicities or certain populations, and also the ability to drive greater efficient development of medicines and start to be very precise and targeted around how these medicines are developed. What we see is that the emergence of AI being a component of this sort of journey to personalized medicine is growing exponentially, I would say. And again, for all of you in Israel and part of the ecosystem, I know you see this every day, but there's just so much opportunity in front of us. But I think when we look at AI, so this slide here lists some of the kind of, you know, early examples in biotechs, in pharmaceutical companies that are being communicated. But I think when we think about AI and the use of AI in medicine, there's a couple key components that we try to keep in mind. And the first is to start with the data, to make sure that the data that we're using is robust, that we have a socially responsible utilization of that data. And I'll talk about that at the end of the talk. But then also that we understand the AI algorithms that we're using for the various parts of the therapy development, right? And I think that's important in sort of a socially responsible approach to how we bring AI into the concept of personalized medicine. But the potential is huge. We have the opportunity to have 10 to tell, the traditional drug development has 10 to 12 years of time to develop a new drug. AI can reduce that time by 1.5 to 2 years, reduce the time by 2 years to potentially in the future, maybe 50% reduction in time. It also can really help in terms of the probability of success. And when we as a, within our healthcare team, as well as in our life science business, when we look at how, what are the challenges with drug development, the one thing that comes up over and over is the predictability of a new drug and how we can get a greater probability of success going through clinical trials. And I must say this is a challenge because of course the development time, as you can see here, is very long, 10 to 12 years. Getting to the end and then not having the therapy be successful for a given patient population is really a challenge, not only for the development company, but also for patients that are waiting for those therapies. And so we really, in the end, want to improve the probability of success. Now, the unique thing about Merck is that we have three diverse business sectors. I've talked about our life science and our healthcare business sector. We also have an electronics business sector that works very closely with the semiconductor industry. And of course, with the topic of AI, with digital, and the ability to enable generative AI and utilize very high performance compute, it's really the intersection of these three sectors and the intersection of digital, biotech, and also engineering coming together that we see as kind of the solution for how we address this challenge going forward. So if we break down the process today, there is the preclinical research, the early research in terms of target discovery that's done. And then we move into clinical research and commercial trials. And what I can say, is each step, in order to get to this holistic view of personalized medicine or, ensuring kind of a greater probability of success, what we have to do is break it down into the individual pieces that we're working on. And so in this case, we've broken it down into sort of three segments of drug development. The early research where we're identifying the target, the preclinical research where we're really getting kind of the early studies in animals that will hopefully then kind of give us predictability to human trials, and then of course the human trials. And these three pieces, I think from a data standpoint and leveraging AI, have to be brought together to really address the opportunity that we have in front of us in terms of leveraging AI holistically for advancing drug development. So you can see here, when you break it down into all the data that's needed, and then all the integration of the various data sets together, it becomes quite complicated. And you can see here, when we have the data surrounding the patient, even beyond what we're working on through the drug development process, there's also external factors with the patient's history, genetics, their age, their health status, that can all come into effect in terms of how effective a drug therapy is. And of course, when we talk about personalized medicine, targeting something that's very specific for a patient, all of this has to come together. So the potential is there for us to have this approach to personalized medicine. However, we're as a company and with partners breaking it down into individual pieces to really focus on getting each segment of that data set and of that part of the drug development process right, so that we can start to really understand how these phases fit together. So I'll talk about two areas that we're investing in right now. The first is on drug discovery. So again, that early part of the drug discovery process or drug development process where we're looking for a new molecule, we're trying to identify what is the right molecule that can give, not only target the specific disease, but also will have minimal toxicity to the patient and have very high efficacy. So a lot of specific biological interactions with that molecule then have to be taken into account, even in the early stage development, to really understand the potential of a new molecule to be taken forward. So again, if we look at the various stages, this early target discovery you can see here is roughly 3 to 5 years, just to identify the molecule. And that really, is important to understand, because that work, if we can really, improve that segment of the overall drug development, it gives us much more candidates coming through to the later stages of the pipeline. And so ultimately what we're trying to do in this area is to reduce the timelines, to increase the hit rate, and also to have an increase in the accessible chemical space. So, with in silico simulations of new molecules for drug candidates, we can have a much greater potential of new molecules and therapies that we have access to. And so we have our life science and healthcare expertise coming together to really build out a platform that we can leverage for drug discovery. And so we already have launched AI drug discovery software in our Addison portfolio. The training data set is based on our healthcare data set, and then we have the algorithms that can be accessed to external companies. I think the key thing here is that leveraging the power of this software is that we can leverage the learning from healthcare for the past 20 years and really build algorithms that have a very good starting point. This opens up the potential for new molecules, to several billion molecules that are available through the software. But of course, that's only the starting point, because once we identify the molecule, we then have to think, okay, how does this molecule, how will it be synthesized? How does it work in terms of the biology? And so that's where we're working on this synthesis co-op and biological assay automation to really kind of get an end-to-end look at new molecules that are coming through our pipeline. So in the end, we're looking to drive basically an end-to-end early stage automation, AI and automation ecosystem, which will identify the drug, the synthesizability, give us a prediction on the synthesis of the new molecule, and then also the early predictions on the viability of the molecule in basic biological testing. That gives us the ability, and what we're really looking to do is then advance that to maybe simulations of human efficacy in specific organs, possibly at some future point replace animal testing with organoid testing, but those are at later stages. I think right now we're really addressing this first component or phase of the drug development. And so this is a work in progress that we're doing both internally, but also with partners, because we see this as a big opportunity to take that front end and make it much more effective, and also give a higher probability of success of molecules moving through the pipeline. The next stage, but then if we look at the later stage Now we've identified the molecule, we've done the early animal testing. Now we're going through to the clinical trials. The other side of this equation in drug development is really how do we identify and kind of break down the silos around understanding how patients respond to these therapies. And as I said, when we look at the data sets that are needed, it's not only the basic biology of a patient, but it's also their history, many of the feedback from patients in terms of how they're responding to specific therapies. In the end, we want all of that information to come into our understanding of how the drug works. And so we have an external data ecosystem platform called Syntropy that we launch and that we work with various medical institutes, pharmaceutical companies, academic researchers to start to understand how we can bring this holistic data set together on the backside of the clinical trials and drug development. And so you can see here the challenge is it's not only the complexity of the data from a patient standpoint, and of course the security of the patient data, it's also the multiple players that come into participation here and how you bring those disparate data sets together. But in the end, what we want to do is be able to speed up scientific discovery on the patient side of things, really start to understand how patients respond. And that gives us the opportunity to really get to this personalization and understanding how patients respond, not only based on biology, but based on all the other factors that we've talked about. So I just want to leave you with hopefully you've been inspired by some ideas that we're working on within Merck. I also want to say that the future of precision healthcare is happening now. We see this everywhere we look. There's so much opportunity, and I think this really helps us advance digital health for patients. And really that's at the heart of the Merck mission that we have, and we're very excited. We've been very excited with the partnerships that we have in Israel to really advance this, and we look forward to that future, that continued collaboration.